It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is Kix with Get It While It's Hot. And you need to get this release while it's hot because it drops today. It is the re-release of Kix's Blow My Fuse release. It's Fuse 30, Reblown, and a guy who knows more about this than I do would be the lead singer of Kix, our good friend Steve Whiteman. What's going on, Steve?
Who doesn't like getting reblown? I mean, come on.
Exactly. Well, Steve, I got to be honest with you. I've been looking forward to chatting with you all day, just because I'm a fan of the band Kix, and I've seen you guys several times, and I'm a fan of your work with Funny Money, and I like the fact that you don't, you haven't given up, and you are out there just giving 110% every time. At least the times that I've seen you.
No, you're right. That's the only way I know how to do it. That's the only way we all know how to do it. It's just been our motto and the way we approach every show since this band began, which I think is why it's still around. We actually care. We want to look good. We want to sound good. We want to give the fans what they want, and I think that's the reason we're still doing it 38 years later.
Absolutely. Well, I got to be honest with you, Steve. I know that after Kix kind of disbanded back in the mid-'90s, and, there was a lot of call for, man, I love Kix. I wonder why they won't come back around. And then the reinterest, resurfaced about 10 years later, and you guys went full bore into it and started, playing some shows kind of local in the Maryland area, and then you kind of branched out and started doing more shows and played Rocklahoma, and then all of a sudden it kind of exploded again for you. So did Kix become a full-time, job for you? And I don't mean job in a negative way. I mean as a livelihood for you, or is it still sort of a part-time thing for you?
No, it's definitely the biggest part of our livelihood right now. But if you remember back in 95, 96, it wasn't that bands quit or disbanded. We were kicked out. I mean, we literally were kicked out of the party. I mean, all the bands that were the big MTV favorites and had made a lot of records, Rat, Def Leppard, Kix, Cinderella, all the bands that had broken through finally were just kicked out of the party. So it was almost like we didn't have a choice. We could have stuck around and played what we called French fry stands and, worked twice as much and make half the money. So we decided it's time to put it down for a while. So everybody went their separate ways. I started Funny Money. Brian and Ronnie did their thing in L.A. Have no idea what Donnie is doing to this day. And Jimmy became a cook. So in that 8 or 9 years of that hiatus, it was everybody just doing their own thing until I started Funny Money with having Ronnie Youngkin's band Blues Vultures come out and open for Funny Money. Ronnie would join me on stage for a couple of Kix songs for an encore, which just drew some interest. And Jimmy had sat in with Ronnie's band once, wanted to help him out. So one night when Jimmy and Ronnie got up on stage with us, it really triggered the whole infatuation of what if we get Brian involved, because we have Mark Shanker in place. He's great. He does the show great, and we know that they probably won't work with Donnie. So when we did it with the 4 original members and Mark, it just kind of blew up in the local area, and it caught the attention of an agent in Los Angeles. His name is Sullivan Big. It's Big Time Entertainment, and he's the one that called me a couple days to try to convince me to allow him to book the band. And his first booking was Rocklahoma. And Rocklahoma was a huge, massive eye-opener and success for the band that we said, okay, we're in, do your magic. And it's just been growing and growing every year.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I've seen you guys, unfortunately, there's some shady promoters out there, but I saw you a couple of years ago.
Nah.
You played a thing called Farm Rock here in the Chicago area about 3 years ago.
Okay, I remember it.
Yeah, and I saw you guys then, but unfortunately that promoter, he ripped off a lot of people, and I think they hunted him down in like Arizona or something. And
I think you're right. Fortunately, we got paid. I know a lot. I think that was one of the ones where Twisted Sister got screwed.
Right. Well, I was with the band Dokken, and we were parked right to your little trailer there, and I came out and said hello to you at that point. But, it was really cool to see Kix out there live, and just amazing energy in your show. I mean, even still today, I mean, you guys are still playing like it is 1988 or 1989 still, and that's why I'm so impressed with the fact that you guys are still going, and I'm glad to see that you've re-released this Blow My Fuse, because that was a big MTV hit back in the day when, there were such things as music videos on television.
Well, it was the biggest record of our lives. It's the one that took us out of the clubs and into arenas. It took us out of our van and into a tour bus. It got us to play the U.S. like 3 times and got us to the U.K. and Japan. So we thought, what better way to celebrate the biggest record of our lives than to get Beau Hill involved and remix this thing and put it out, because the technology is so much better these days. And we had a lot of faith in Beau. Beau, I still feel, made one of our best sounding records ever in Midnight Dynamite. So when we asked him to be involved, he jumped at it just as an old friend and wanted the challenge of making that record even better than it actually was. And he succeeded. And we also included the original demos, which, unbeknownst to me, Ronnie Yonkins had been holding on to these forever. When Kix called it quits in 95, we just divvied up all this stuff. Everybody took, recording machines and desk and mixing boards and speakers and whatever, and we all just divvied everything up 5 ways. Well, Ronnie got the reel-to-reel and all the old demos and just put them in a shed, and they've been there ever since. And when Mark Shanker, our bass player, pioneered this whole idea. Nobody can take credit for it but Mark, that he thought this would be the perfect opportunity for the band to really celebrate this record, to maybe play the entire record live, which is what we're currently doing, and to re-release this thing and to give it to the fans and let them hear it like it's never been heard before. And, Mark is just an incredible guy, and everything is just fallen into place, and we're just real happy with the whole idea, the whole campaign, and hopefully the fans will enjoy it too.
Absolutely. Well, you must be reading my mind, because actually my next question was going to be is, who had the presence of mind to hold on to the demos? And obviously you just answered that question.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that, tape deteriorates over time, was there any issue with being able to, bounce that down to digital at all? I mean, because, tape does.
Apparently not. They were very well taken care of. They were placed in their boxes and padded and covered and totally protected from sunlight or any weather. So when we got them out, they were pretty much pristine.
Nice. Was it a pleasant surprise for you? Were you just like, holy shit, is this going to actually work?
I got to give Mark Shanker the credit, because he's the one that got him to the guy who put him to digital. So Mark said they were pristine, and I trust him.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you something there, Steve. Beau Hill is a friend of the Classic Metal Show, and we think he is just an awesome producer. Obviously, he's produced some of the biggest bands that made the mark in the 80s. What is it?
Right.
What is it about a guy like a Beau Hill that separates him from the pack out there? I mean, what is that magic thing that Beau brings to recording or remastering or whatever? Because obviously he did a really great job with Rat. He's worked with Stephen Pearcy solo. Obviously, he's worked with you. What is it? What does Beau bring to the table that makes him so unique?
Beau is not only a producer, engineer, he's a musician. He's a songwriter. So he's been in bands, he's written songs, he's made albums for his own band. So he understands how to take a song apart and put it back together and make it better. He understands how to make a band sound the way that the band wants to sound, not the way the record company wants them to sound. He's got a grip on how to make the band happy and what he feels would be his best work in order to make that happen. So he was a godsend. When we had high hopes for Midnight Dynamite, the record that he did for us, our third album, coming off the success of Rat, thinking, we're on Atlantic, they're on Atlantic, can't miss. Well, it still missed, and Bo to this day is so disappointed that record didn't do better.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Bo, how would you compare Bo Hill? And let me just put it this way: in today's day and age, being that the record industry is in the tank, what separates a Bo Hill from somebody that is a producer today? I mean, is he a caliber above what you would consider somebody who's hot today? Or
who's hot today? You're asking the wrong guy, because I haven't worked with anybody.
Well, that's kind of
other than Taylor Rhodes on our last record, which we worked with Taylor, on the Midnight the Blow My Fuse and Hotwire album.
Right.
So I haven't really worked with any of the current producers to do a comparison.
Sure, I get you, and that's a good answer actually, because to tell you the truth, I don't even know who's quote unquote the hot producer today.
I don't either. I don't even know what records are considered great anymore, because they are only on the charts for 2 weeks and then they're gone.
Very good. Yeah, well, you're old school like me, Steve, so I could definitely appreciate that answer. Now, something I've wanted to ask you for years, literally, your Blow My Fuse video, the little brunette in that video, who was that girl? I was so in love with that girl when that Blow My Fuse video came out. 30 years ago.
Was it Blow My Fuse or Cold Blood?
Or what? It was Cold Blood. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Cold Blood.
Yeah.
She kind of looked like Christy Alley.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. I have no idea who she was, but she was lovely.
Well, she was.
Believe me, we all wanted to know her name. But,
really? So
she was just hired. She was hired by the video crew, and she's very, very sweet, very friendly during the shoot. And after that, I never saw her again.
Wow. Okay. I thought maybe she was like a friend of the band or somebody that you guys tapped, said, "Hey, you want to be in our video?" or something like that. But
I like to tell a big lie and go, I tagged her. No, I can't say that.
Yeah, she was a gorgeous girl. I can't tell you how many times I watched that video looking at that girl.
Yeah, we all did.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, you're not the only one.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, tell us a little bit about this re-release here, something that kind of stands out for you. Maybe you want to point out to the fans about the re-release, because obviously it's been 30 years. I hate to say that because now I feel old. But
yeah, me too.
But 30 years has gone by. You guys obviously had this remastered. You added all the demos in, as we spoke about earlier, and so on and so forth. So what is the what is the ultimate goal for re-releasing the studio release as well as the demos? Is this something just because you feel that the hardcore fans would appreciate this, or do you think that it might translate to a new audience, or how do you look at it?
I don't know if it'll translate to a new audience or not, but I think it's definitely for the diehard fans that have been following this band, and that was obviously the biggest record of our lives. I had a good thought that went right out of my mind. It must be the wine. I guess it was to include the demos, which was, I thought, was a very cool idea. And there's other things in the package that include letters that were sent to the fan club, people who really embraced the song "Don't Close Your Eyes," because obviously they had been considering suicide, so they identify with that song. There's things that people attach to that record, so we thought that it just had a special meaning in our career and in our fans, and thought that 30 years later the technology is so much better than when it was when we recorded that record. And to me, the way that Bo remixed it and the way that it was remastered, my analogy is it's like taking cataracts out of your eyes. It just opens everything up and makes it crystal clear, as opposed to being overly echoed and reverbed and just muddied. That's what we did in the old days. We threw all kinds of effects on everything, and that stuff it's not necessary these days. So, it was just a whim of an idea on Mark's part, and everybody embraced the idea. Loud and Proud, our label, embraced the idea as opposed to pushing us into a studio and doing another record. They thought it'd be a great campaign and a way to get people ready for the next Kix studio album.
Sure, absolutely. Now, that brings up a good point here. Obviously, you released Rock Your Face Off almost 4 years ago already. And what at this point, and not that I would discourage you from doing it, because obviously as the hardcores go, they're always, jonesing for something new or something fresh. But for a band like Kix, a legacy band like Kix, what's in it for you to record a full studio record in this day and age?
Nothing but for the fans. It's not like we're going to make any money off of it. Those days are long gone. It's the need to be creative and to work as a band that makes you feel like you're doing something productive and putting out something new. There's just people that are creative need to have that regardless of the benefits from it. So it's as much for us as it is for the diehard fans that want to hear new stuff, and those fans who don't care, don't buy it.
Right. Well, let me get your input here. Obviously, probably one of the mainstream ways that anyone might hear a Kix song is if they, have XM Sirius radio and they listen to, the hairband station,
Sure.
And what is your thought on a playlist? Do you listen to the Hair Nation at all?
You know what? I got rid of Sirius XM, and I hate to say that, but I don't even have their service anymore.
Right.
There's so much on phones these days,
right.
And my iTunes consists of like 7,000 or 8,000 songs. So my favorite music is on my iPod.
Sure.
So, any comedy stations, I just go to Pandora. So I just lost interest in the station.
Right.
So I honestly don't listen.
Yeah, I get that, and believe me, that's the way a majority of our fans, the classic metal show fans, that's how they listen. Because obviously, we broadcast live on Saturdays, but we also release the show in segments through the week via podcast, and that's the way a majority of our fans listen to us. So they don't subscribe to a Sirius XM radio and listen to Hair Nation and whatnot, but. I bought a new car. I got a new Chevy Camaro SS, and it came with XM radio for a year. And I've listened to Hair Nation, and obviously they're going to play some Kix, and they're going to play "Don't Close Your Eyes."
Right. Sure.
And that is the only song that you'll hear from Kix. So from a programming standpoint, when you got a paid subscription. Don't you think a station like Hair Nation, they could stretch out a little bit and maybe play something that's, maybe not necessarily the mainstream, like Red Light, Green Light, Go or something like that?
Well, I know that they probably play 3 songs off the record. They do Don't Close Your Eyes, Cold Blood, and Blow My Fuse. Those were the 3 singles. Those were the 3 songs we made videos for, and those were the 3 most popular songs on the record. That's all they're going to play. They threw us a bone when we put out Rock Your Face Off, and they played Love Me With Your Top Down for a couple of weeks, and then just went right back into playing the classical stuff.
Right,
so
right.
It is what it is. That they're not alone. If you listen to any FM radio station these days, it's all programmed. It's all the same shit day after day after day. So it's just what radio has turned into, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's sad because young bands, I guess the only way that they can get their music out is through friends on social media, YouTube, or whatever. Whereas, we had to go out and we earned it. We went out and we played our brains out night after night after night, town after town after town, accumulating a following to get enough interest for a record label to even smell you. So it's just so different now, and I don't know how young bands keep that energy, keep that focus, keep that drive going.
Right, absolutely. Well, let me ask you something, Steve. Obviously things kind of fell out of that era in like 91, and you guys continued to perform and put out music. You put out Hot Wire and you put out Show Business in the 90s. Tell me something that sticks out for you memorable-wise for either one of those releases, or something that you kind of maybe are a little bit sentimental about from either one of those records, even though, you know, that unfortunately that era was over, but you guys continued working through it.
I guess it was just our stubborn stupidity, you know, to persevere, to keep going. We sort of knew after Hot Wire was released, and we were shooting a video for the song "Girl Money" off that record, and we could just tell that there was a lack of interest on the label after sinking a lot of money into making that record. We could just tell that something had shifted, and you know, that grunge and that Seattle sound just really started to take over, and we just sort of felt the drop. And MTV they sniffed the video and then dropped it, and everything just turned into the grunge sound. So we knew that there was something very seriously changing in the music business and radio and MTV and everything that had got us to the highest point in our lives was changing and was possibly gone.
Sure, absolutely. Well, what do you think about, obviously some of the legacy bands still make videos today. Obviously, they're shown on mostly like YouTube. I guess YouTube would be the biggest distributor of music videos.
That's the only place you can. That's the only outlet for. We shot one video off the Rock Your Face Off album for Wheels in Motion, and it was done so quickly and so easily at a club in Baltimore. And it looked great, it sounded great, but you know, it's not going to have any impact because unless people are looking for it, they're never going to find it.
Well, aside from touring around and getting signed on to music packages and being part of a tour of some kind that allows you to work with your contemporaries. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, how far out can this go? I mean, do you see an interest in Kix out there as far as like continue on, say, for the next 10 years?
Can't say about 10 years, but I think we're good for another 4 or 5.
Okay.
I think the caliber of show that we're still able to put on still attracts new fans and keeps the old fans happy and interested and wanting to come back out and see the band. We're becoming generational.
Yeah.
We got grandma and son and daughter out there now, so we're real fond of our fans because they appreciate the energy and the time and the caring that we put into the show, because it is very focused and very thought driven as to how to be the best that we can be, and we all have that inner drive in us. So I think as long as we hang on to that, nobody gets sick or gets hurt, I see no reason why we can't go on for another 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you on a personal level, how do you stay in such great shape?
I work out every day.
Good.
I walk nearly 3 miles. That's my warm-up. Then I come in, and I've been doing P90X since it came out. And I'm to the point now where I don't even need the DVDs anymore. I've memorized them. So I've been on this program forever. It works. And it's what allows me to get up on stage and keep that energy level and keep that stamina. And so I'll keep doing it as long as I'm in this band. Once this band is done, I'm done with that shit.
Very nice. Now, are you still teaching music?
I am, yes.
And what do you see in the young fledgling musicians that you are teaching or mentoring? What is their interest?
God, that's a great question. I haven't really even thought about that. I usually get them in such beginning stages, and I do have a few that are very talented and don't know where to go with it. And I think I would be in that boat. If I was 18, 19 years old and worked my whole life learning to play drums and guitar and write songs and sing, I was like, okay, now where do I go? How do I get this out to anybody? How can I find a band? It's just so different anymore. There's no one simple plan. It's different almost in every situation. So I hear and feel a lot of frustration on how do you get started? And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, I was brought up in an era where music meant something, but unfortunately for you kids, there's no hope for you.
Everybody in my town played music. There was like 8 or 10 bands that had plenty of outlets to go play and perform, and that's not the case anymore. So kids don't know where to go to find fellow musicians to start a group and to, start a band.
So are the students that you see interested in rock music, or do they have other interests, or is it a varied thing, or,
It's varied.
Yeah,
it's varied, because I teach young kids. I teach people in their 50s. I teach people of all ages and all of everything. I teach everybody anything they want to know.
So do they look at you as the older cool guy, or do they look at you like something from an era gone by?
A little bit of both, I think. There are some. I mean, young kids come in. Their parents are bringing them new because they know who I am and what I've done in my life, and they don't have a clue. So they're not impressed.
Right.
I have to impress upon them what they're doing with me and how I can help them. Where the parents are like, "Oh, my child's working with Steve Whiteman," but the kids don't care.
Right.
And then there are those who, from my generation and people who know the band and know of me, come and they're kind of enamored for a while, but then they get over that pretty quick because I don't play that game, and I'm there to work with them. So it varies.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Steve, it's been a real pleasure to have you back on the Classic Metal Show. The re-release of Kix Blown My Fuse, Fuse 30, Reblown, the 30th anniversary special edition, a 2-disc CD set with all the demo tracks is available through Loud and Proud Records. And where can people find out about Kix there, Steve?
This actually is almost an exclusive release through pledgemusic.com for people who want to order it online. It's pledgemusic.com. So if you just go pledge.com, you'll get a floor wax.
Okay.
So I guess Loud and Proud is trying to make an exclusive for a while. Then I guess after it runs its course on Pledge Music, it'll be more readily available on other outlets. But for now, that's the one and only way to get it.
Sure. And people can order autographed copies and things?
Yes, yeah. I just signed 200 of them damn things the other night before we played in Baltimore. So
very nice.
My wrist still hurts.
Very good. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us here on the Classic Metal Show. You're always welcome back anytime. Hopefully I'll see you again out on the road soon. And, good luck with the re-release. And hopefully we'll see or hear something from you, some new stuff from you soon.
Sound good. I hope so, too.
All right, Steve. Well, as a tradition here on the Classic Metal Show, we always let the artist pick a closing song. So why don't you pick something off of this re-release of Blow My Fuse and maybe tell us a quick story about it?
One of the songs that we had never played in the 30 years after the release of the record, we'd never played it live. And since we've been doing the whole record from top to bottom, we had to finally start playing Piece of the Pie. And it's turning into one of the fan favorites because it's just a great song. It's a great riff, and people are really digging it. So I would say Piece of the Pie.
Perfect. All right. Well, here it is. This is off of the Blow My Fuse release, and this is Kix with Piece of the Pie, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.